But I think this is probably all of us, so we can get started. So welcome to Strategy 1. We are talking about the real-world application of content. And I'm going to pass it over to Lisbon to get us started.
All right, good morning. Thank you for joining us. So again, today our focus is on just real world applications, really building connections for our students. To start off, just some information about the importance of real world applications. Applying content to students' real life helps strengthen neural pathways for the learner. Application can take the form of authentic practice that lets the learner rehearse using his new understanding and correct any misconceptions or weaknesses in understanding. So doing this really does help students learn the material better, hold on to it, retain it, and just get more from the content. We'll go ahead and watch a video on, about Zaretta Hammond just to contextualize content for us.
So attention, our brains don't pay attention. They just ignore things until it becomes relevant or important. So we want to get the brain's attention. That's our first order of business. This is where collectivism can be very powerful. How do kids start by talking about a subject? How can we use games and other things? How do we contextualize content in order to make it relevant so students' attention is captured, not as a gimmick, but as a way to activate the schema? For example, if we're talking about the water cycle in biology, let's talk about the politics of water. Or another teacher was talking about percentages and mortgages and started to look at gentrification and what that process was like. So again, contextualizing it around some things that were relevant to students to make the content more relevant so the students' schema was activated. Another teacher got students' attention and situated learning by contextualizing the content in statistics. And they decided to look at statistics through game theory. So the idea is, how do we understand statistical thinking in relationship to games? And so she created this entry point in terms of actually talking about statistics. Students still had to do the math, right? Statistics didn't change, but she gave it a context. That's one way you can make things culturally responsive. Here's the thing I want to say about that. Making things culturally responsive doesn't mean that you always have to mention race and culture in every, lesson. But it is making it contextualized for students. We're going to talk about another way that you make things culturally responsive when it comes to instructional delivery. So that really is thinking about culture as a cognitive scaffold when you're thinking about culture as part of your instructional delivery. And this is where the elaboration comes in. I like to.
All right, so I really appreciate in that video how she talks about how important it is not just to do the real world application, but to also make it relevant for our students. I was a former math teacher, so that one example that stood out to me was the fact that when she talked about mortgages, which is very much a real life application for students, the teacher also talked about gentrification. So just taking it a step further to really make it about something that students can connect to and relate to and are interested in, because that allows them to really process it more. It helps to grab their attention and helps them to learn the material. Go ahead. You're good. So that real world application, and in addition to giving them, something to really hold on to and making it relevant, it also gives them an opportunity to spend more time with the content and to really practice it and to really understand it at a deeper level. Within 20 minutes of learning something new, you only remember 60%. So if we're just touching on a concept, students are not going to hold on to it for long periods of time. Within 24 hours, you only remember 30%. But if you practice it within 24 hours, followed by later practice, you're going to remember 80%. So giving them that context, giving them that real world application, giving them time to really dive into that content area, that learning, will help them remember what they learn a little bit more.
Totally. So again, just making those connections, helping students think through. We're going to be jumping into 3 different examples and jumping into each of these tools a little bit more. Since there's only 2 of you with us today, we can also kind of customize what exactly we talk about today. But what we always offer in our sessions, because we want you to be able to make the most of this time every time that you come to one of our PLs. So that said, we give people the option where you can follow along with us. And again, we'll jump into like, how can you use Pear Deck or Screencastify and Flipgrid or Edpuzzle to help build those connections, to help provide context for what you're teaching in a way that's personally applicable for your students. So if you, follow along with us, we'll jump into that, and you'll definitely still have time to kind of explore on your own. On the right-hand side, if you choose to work independently, there are hyperlinks here. Do you both have the slides? I assume you do, since you made it to the room. All right. So if you do like, though, and just an FYI, we're not necessarily going to talk about how to get started with each of the tools. We can, if that's something you're both needed, but there are links here to the Pear Deck templates and the Pear Deck all-in-one. The all-in-ones for each of our tools is a place where you can find out, how do I get logged in? How do I connect it to Schoology? How do I get started in my classroom? It's just a collection of resources for you. So you might want to open those and bookmark them anyway, just an FYI. And then we're going to go back to the main room at 11:05. So that said, that's all there for you. Go ahead.
Can you put the link to the slide deck back in the chat?
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Listener will grab that in just a second. And okay, so first, we're going to jump into Pear Deck. And I wanted to ask real quick too, Chris and Andrew, what content do you both teach?
Come on, Chris, you're an audio engineer, man. You shouldn't be on mute right now.
Oh, yeah. I teach audio engineering.
Okay. Great. How about you, Andrew?
So I teach advanced manufacturing, but I'm this part I'm interested in because I'm the exploratory career teacher for all the freshmen at CEC this year. So continually doing the same thing over again of how to get real world like connections is I wanted to get some new ideas on that and different technologies. Like I use Screencastify as a way for them to show their work.
Yeah.
But I've never thought of it as a way to get real world connection yet. So
okay.
Yeah.
And Chris, how about you? Anything that you're already comfortable with, or something you're really wanting to learn about, or just curious where you're at?
I want to learn about Edpuzzle, and I've tried Pear Deck. I've never really been able to work that into my stuff, but Flipgrid and Screencastify and Edpuzzle I'm interested in.
Okay. So I'll go through Pear Deck and Screencastify Flipgrid a little bit quicker. So it's because it sounds like you're both wanting Edpuzzle a lot, I think. And I'll show you some quick tips with Pear Deck. And then if you want to come back or you want to learn more, we have plenty of time. We have a full hour. So with Pear Deck, something I want to show you real quickly is the access to the templates. So the way that I think of using Pear Deck in a real world context, which isn't so much, where do you see this in the world, but rather bringing context to the students, right? Like, what's your opinion? What do you think about that? Or what do you want to learn more about, is like kind of building that conversation in your classroom. So Pear Deck is an add-on to Google Slides. So if you're already using Google Slides in your classroom, it is that easy to use Pear Deck. So what I want to show you, let me, I'm just going to exit the presentation. So if I'm in Google Slides and I'm building my deck, right, for my class the next day, I'm going to open my add-on, and it's a little slow because we've got a lot going on my computer at the moment. You can edit each of your slides to have these interactive questions. But what you can also do is go to this template library, and you can find pre-made slides that are interactive, already built for you here. And I'm just going to do a quick show, or you might want to look at a certain, area. Critical thinking, I really liked these. So like, let's say you're talking, and it can just help facilitate conversation, which I think helps build that context, builds engagement, and therefore, is bringing in that real world context because students are making those connections to each other and their personal experience. So these are all available for you, and all you have to do is click one, and it automatically gets inserted into your deck. So I just want to show you how easy that can be. It's sort of a low lift tool. So if you're running that in your classroom, you have students sign in to your Pear Deck session. And if either of you want more information about that, we can come back to that. But that's just a real quick how to use Pear Deck in this situation. So are any questions at the moment? Chris, you're good. Andrew, you're good. So real quick, and you have that all in one if you want to dig into it more. Since it sounded like you're interested in Pear Deck, I'm going to skip these other examples about Pear Deck at the moment. But just remember, it's that easy to use to build in conversation, build in interaction from your students. One other quick note is that students who are sometimes more shy or less willing to talk out loud in class, I find that Pear Deck is a really great tool for that because it gives everyone the answer to respond anonymously, where you can still see like, oh, Andrew is providing his opinion. He's just more comfortable being anonymous, right? Okay, so our second example is Screencastify and Flipgrid. Let me get back to our presentation here.
And I just want to let you know, when I'm looking over to the side, I have two monitors. So
oh, you're fine. I mean, I wasn't.
I know sometimes people are like, what are you looking at? Well, I have two monitors, so I'm trying to do.
Me too. But I always keep two monitors. It's helpful.
Yeah.
You're both fine. I just, because their names in the room, I'm using you as an example.
No worries.
But yeah, and again, I mean, really, you're welcome to also be like exploring the tools. I'm looking at other things. So don't feel like you have to have 100% of your attention on me right now. So one of you mentioned, right, using Screencastify as a way for students to show work. And I think that is a great application. If we're going back to how can students practice what we're teaching to, again, retain more of that information, that is one way we're thinking of it. Another thing that we thought is, again, using Flipgrid as a way to build student conversation and hear other students' perspectives. So if in Flipgrid, and I can show you this real quick, let me share this tab instead. So in Flipgrid, again, similar to those templates I showed you in Pear Deck, there are tons of pre-made prompts. You can do searches. You can link videos, you can link articles and have students then provide like, hey, what's your response to this? And I think there's a couple different ways to use it. So just know that Flipgrid Discovery Library exists. But what you can do is how can you get students in thinking about that practice, that repetition of if you practice it, you're going to retain more of it. Can you prompt students to think of a related prompt before they dig into a unit, or can you have them sum up learning afterwards? And I have some links here. So in one case, it was a teacher who was doing a unit on Romeo and Juliet, and their sort of pre-thinking prompt was, which emotion is stronger, love or hate? And I can just imagine, like high schoolers in particular, like having a lot to say about that, right? And that builds that engagement about this boring Shakespeare book that, oh God, why do we have to learn about this? The other example after learning was they had read a book about Gandhi. And so the prompt, oh, sorry, I'm not showing the right tab, right, was, okay, now that you've learned how salt shook the world, which tells about Gandhi's salt march and how Gandhi fought for people of India, what is something else?
Can you all hear me?
Hello? Oh, wait, is there? Hi.
I think that's probably coming from my other open meeting.
Oh, got you. Thanks. I was like, I didn't think anyone else was here. But again, so having the students think like, okay, here's an example of something that people needed and how they fought to gain access. just those different applications before and after a unit. Another way that this would be a great way to integrate student video for learning in real world context is creating sort of a student deck using either Screencastify or Flipgrid to build that knowledge and build review materials. So again, one thing to point out is that Screencastify is great when you want students to respond just to you, right? Like showing their work. It's also great because it has the ability to show your screencast, right? You can record what's on your screen. Whereas Flipgrid is more quick videos, like quick responses. This is what I think, dialogue, debate, responding to and from. So just something to keep in mind. And then go ahead.
Flipgrid, you mentioned that there's articles. Are those articles that we can put in there?
Yes. So you can show a video of yourself, right? Like this is what I want you guys to think about and respond to, but you can, there's a way to insert links into a Flipgrid so that you can say, review these materials or choose one of these articles and give a response. Okay. Any other questions about Screencastify and Flipgrid before I let Lisbon take over with Edpuzzle?
Can we put Screencastify or Flipgrid links into Pear Deck?
Yes. Well, if you just want to show,
Like
you could
inserting
embed
a video like you do with in Google. In Google Slides, you can insert a video. You can insert Screencastify videos because they go straight to your Google Drive. That's where they're saved.
So, and your question is, can you do that in Pear Deck?
Can you get into Pear Deck? Yeah.
Yes. So anything you can do in Pear Deck, anything you can do in Google Slides, you can do in Pear Deck and more, because it's just that additional interactive feature.
Extra interactive. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The other thing about Pear Deck, since you're asking that question, Pear Deck can be run synchronously or asynchronously, which is really great. So something that I did, I was teaching last year, I would, have my instructor-led session during class. And then for my students who missed or wanted to review or, just maybe weren't paying attention that day, I would then change it to student-led and they're able to go back and access and I can still log their answers. So just something to know about Pear Deck. All right. Any other questions for Screencastify and Flipgrid? All right. I'm going to stop sharing and let Lisbon take it away.
All right, so we'll take a look at Edpuzzle next, which I know you're interested in learning about. And if you need me to kind of go through the basics of setting it up, we can also do that. But just to kind of start off, let's talk about like the actual real world connection. So Edpuzzle is a tool that you can use to take videos. These can be YouTube videos. These can be videos that you create yourself and edit it so that students are required to stop and think as they're watching the video. So you can add in multiple choice questions. You can add in open-ended response questions. You can also add in notes so that students, as they are viewing the video, are taking time to kind of stop and think through some of it. So this is an example here of a science Edpuzzle. It's a short one, but we don't necessarily have to go through the whole Edpuzzle, but this is about enzymes and it, my computer's spinning and frozen. Can you guys hear me? Okay, you can hear me, but can you see anything? Or do you see the same thing I'm seeing? I have a blank screen.
Yeah, your
there we go. Is it back? Okay, camera's off. That's okay. Can you see the presentation still? Is it back? Okay, perfect. Okay, so this one is about enzymes, but they related to making Jell-O, which, kind of a fun application for kids. It talks about why real pineapple makes it so that Jell-O does not set, but you can use canned pineapple because the enzymes get denatured, and it just, it applies it in a way that maybe might be interesting for kids. But what Edpuzzle does to make it even better is it forces students to kind of stop and think about what they are learning about. So this teacher put in 3 multiple choice questions. So you can see what'll happen is when they're watching the video, it'll stop when it comes to that point in the video and it'll ask the multiple choice question. So they'll have to answer it, then they can keep watching. And so this one, again, there are 3. So this is a pre-made video. I can search for videos. I don't have to make my own. I can take videos that are created and from there edit them. So like if I like it, I can take it and edit it. Students, while they're watching it, this will just pop up and pause the video for them to answer. If they weren't paying attention and need to watch it again, they can click rewatch and just see that section again, so that they actually really process what it is that they're seeing, and not just tune it out or not pay attention. So if I like it, I'm just going to go up here to edit, and I can edit it and add in additional questions if I want to. I can remove some of the questions that are in there. So I can cut it. So like if the video is too long and I don't want all of it, I can cut it. All of those are options that I can do. So over here, voiceover, depending on the type of video, some of them will give you the option to voiceover. YouTube videos, you will not be able to because of their terms of service. But if you want to add different narration to the video while it's playing, that's an option for some. And then these are the different types of questions. So again, multiple choice, which you can include feedback into your responses. You can add multiple, continue to add other choices, however you want to set that up. You also have access to open-ended questions, so students can type in a longer response. And again, you can include feedback. You can also allow audio responses from students. And then lastly, if you just want to put a note, tell them to stop and think about something, or maybe make sure you write this in your notes, you can also include that as well. So just taking those videos that extra step and really making it so that students are thinking through it as they're learning about it. So there are a lot of different types of videos that you can add to Edpuzzle. You can take, again, YouTube videos, or you can pull videos from Edpuzzle itself. But some ideas for how you can use this in your classroom. Virtual field trips are always a great way to show kids things that you can't, do in your own classroom. So these are some examples of virtual field trips that you can then edit and ask questions about. Science experiments, if you can't perform it in your own classrooms, again, just allowing students to view things that you might not be able to do. Math in the Olympics, just again, a real world context, just to give them opportunities to think about and process the learning a little bit more. Other ideas are interviews. The example that I have here for the interviews is from our DMLK students who have the No Justice, No Peace podcast, and they did an interview, again, relating it to things that are relevant to them, that are interesting to them. Those are our DPS students, so you have that buy-in, that interest. Dialogues and debates, sometimes there are conversations that are hard to have in classrooms, so giving them a chance to watch a model of a good debate, of a good discussion, it teaches them how to have these conversations, and then it gives you a way to possibly do one yourself. It just kind of sets it up. So the example that's here is of a show. It's called Middle Ground, where you can watch individuals having just debates that or dialogues about content that students are going to have strong opinions of. Current events. It's also really great for just social emotional learning, especially in this day and age. And during the pandemic, a lot of our students are coming back struggling with being in class and struggling with social emotional needs. So giving them opportunities to watch videos, but also process how they're feeling and thinking about things. Edpuzzle just kind of gives them a space to do that. And it's individual, their responses are their responses. So it's a great tool for that. Another thing that makes Edpuzzle really great is just how well it integrates with Schoology. I can add an Edpuzzle into Schoology simply by clicking on the Add Materials. Edpuzzle is integrated in there. So when I select an Edpuzzle for students to complete, it's going to be in Schoology. So they won't have to go out of Schoology to do it. I can prevent skipping so they don't forward through and just watch the parts that they want to. You can turn on CCs if you want that as well. And then it's right in there for students to complete. They don't have to go anywhere. You as a teacher will have access to view student progress, see if they've done it. You can see exactly how much of the video they've watched. If you want it to be graded, you can make it a graded assignment too. So that's also a pretty cool part of this is I can go into edit Click here to enable grading. So if it's a multiple choice question where you've marked off the correct answers, it auto grades it for you. If it's not auto graded, if it's got an open-ended question, you would have to go in and score it. But all of that is possible.
This is awesome. I have to be gone 2 days this week
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have some serious videos. And I mean, I use videos in my class every day. And this would be really cool because some of the students don't really, I never figured out a way to have them catch up.
Mm.
If they missed the videos. So now I'm just going to start curating all these things.
Yes.
Does it keep the stuff in Schoology, like, and does it omit the advertisements?
It does.
Wow, this is like a dream come true for me.
It is. And it's awesome. Like, it's great for students to catch up. It's great when you're going to be gone. It's great for flipped classrooms. Like, if you want students to get started on something and kind of get like the basic info first and then come in and really you can dig into it. There are a lot of great uses for Edpuzzle.
Wow, no, this is awesome.
Just to add another idea too, because I heard, I'm not sure which, or maybe it was both of you have been using Screencastify. You could also take your own Screencastify and to sort of build some accountability for students to be like, no, you need to watch this for tomorrow. You can then view that, right? Like see their student progress or not. And then if you're thinking about how to make your life easier in future years, right? Like here's this really technical topic we're going to talk about. You create a video this year that you can reuse again and again, and you save yourself that talking time too. So there's just so many different ways to use it.
Between this and Screencastify and IORAD, that's like all the stuff for a technical, I mean, really cool tools for a technical class. But the time that it takes to set the stuff up, that's why they pay us the medium bucks.
So true.
Oh, this is so cool though. Thanks for showing. So I'm just gonna set it up. I have my own account and then I set it up in there and then I just somehow through Schoology it'll link to my account or I'll have to log in or something.
Yeah, it's actually already on there, Chris. I'm creating my classes right now, but I guess my next question is how do you add members? So if you actually,
You
if
don't
you're on
have to.
Schoology, you don't have to.
You don't have to. If you're on Schoology, if you go through Schoology, you do not have to add members. It'll just pull in your student list as they start opening it.
It's on that little sidebar, Chris, where you have materials, updates, gradebooks, right?
Yeah, no, I saw that. I just didn't know if I had to like build a class, kind of like what you were talking about.
So the first time you do it, so you do want to go in through the add materials link here, either at the top or when you click on that that line along the materials. And then the first time you do it, it does ask you to create a class. So you can just make a name for your class. And then it's going to pull up all the videos you have in Edpuzzle. So you also want to go through Edpuzzle itself. So go to edpuzzle.com, log in with your .NET account, and then you can search for videos, or you can create your own video. You can add content and create your own videos.
Oh, it's interesting. It doesn't show the option in your personal resources folder. So you have to create it within a course first. Then if I were to copy that to another course, would it do the same thing Schoology does and repopulate it with the new class?
Yeah, so you would go to your new course and your other course in Schoology and then create a class, and then you can add that same video. So it'll have those students in that section.
Okay, but I mean, like inside of Schoology, if you have a folder, you can say copy to course, like with individual things. If I copied it to the course, would it automatically repopulate with the new class?
It would. The important thing to remember is that you'll have to edit, like once that material pops up, you have to enable grading so that it is in your grade book.
Sure.
You can copy it to other courses, yes.
Cool, because that just makes it to where it'll just, once I do it once, then I copy it over there, then there'll be all those new students in there, and then if not, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, and we have time. Like we have the next 40, 30, whatever minutes, 35 minutes. We can go through and help you guys get that set up. The other thing, I know, because you mentioned resources, it won't save in your resources, but because in Edpuzzle, Edpuzzle does save your videos, so you kind of have your Edpuzzle resource there on edpuzzle.com.
Okay, so it won't save into the Schoology resource, so I can't keep like a folder of all my Edpuzzles inside of Schoology, but they are existing at edpuzzle.com, and I can always access them through adding the materials.
I don't think, I mean, just because you said it doesn't save to resources, I'm going to double check right now. But yes, you always have access to anything you've created in Edpuzzle, so don't feel like it's, not there. But I'm going to double check that right now for you.
Okay.
So the next half hour or so is going to be just, I guess, workshop time. You can create lessons that you want to use for yourself in the next, hopefully soon. We want this time to be useful to you so that you're creating something you can actually take to your classes. But we'll, if we want to continue asking questions and working through it, if you want to build something together, we're happy to do that. But we have until 11:05 to create something, and then we'll go back to the main room to get the sign-in information so you get credit for the session and all of that. So
yeah, I'd love to ask your guys' opinions and stuff about how I would use some of this stuff. So it's kind of my setup is kind of odd. So they, of course, I opened my big mouth and said, I can, help with career exploration through manufacturing. They said, that's a great idea. So why don't you do it? So I'm the career exploration, 9th grade career exploration teacher, where I'm actually each week we're looking at a different career. So we have 15 career paths, at CEC. And so right now we're on culinary, for example. So I guess I could look for like culinary videos in Edpuzzle, but I mean, my main idea was, and maybe you guys can help maybe think if there's other ways to expand this, was, kids I'm supposed to look at it, but I'm supposed to look at each career, and they get to actually go in like every Wednesday. They're going into the career class and experiencing like some sort of activity or getting information or something like that about it. So Wednesday's already done pretty much, but Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, it's going to be kind of interesting. So far I've done a lot of like search up a career within the path, see how much money they make, because it's always interested about, well, if I want to do this, how much money am I going to make? A lot of times, not always, but at least understanding that, hey, if you want to be, this or that, this is where your starting point is. This is kind of the requirements and stuff like that, to actually get into the field. And then, and then this is where you could go up, or stay wherever you want or whatever, but I do have like a theory of like the kids need to ask themselves, like, what makes them happy? And I guess that's kind of hard to try to get them to share out or to think about, like it's when people usually think that, they usually think, well, playing soccer makes me happy, or, or doing some specific activity. And I try to get them to think about the second layer of like, well, why does playing soccer make you happy or something like that, Okay, so not just the activity, but then the next part is the what, but then the why, and try to get them really diving into, because I feel like a lot of, I mean, in my own personal, I've only been teaching now for 7 years. So I started late because I bounced around looking for, a career that would make me happy and stuff, type of thing, or whatever I was doing it for the wrong reasons or whatever. So I want to try to help them find the right reasons before they like pick something and go with it, Anyways, so that's kind of like the, sorry about that. That's kind of the long and short of it. So yeah, I don't know. What would you guys like? What would be like possibly a 70 or 65-minute class look like about culinary career exploration to you guys?
I think what you were talking about, like with having students really think about the things that they're interested in, like those conversations could be very well facilitated by a pear deck. Like just, where do you, what do you feel about this? And even just like getting like them to start thinking about like culinary arts and like what, different career options are, or just talking about like areas that interest them. Like I'm thinking about all the templates that there are, like you can ask a lot of like opinion based questions, which just when they give them a minute to kind of process it on their own and then kind of open it up for discussions. I think Pear Deck would be a good place to start on that. And then like Edpuzzle is nice because like you said, you can search, like if you just put in culinary under the search, a ton of stuff comes up that's already been created. You can use YouTube videos of like, if they get to go in person and actually experience people who are in these careers, then maybe not so much. Like if not, you can, like I was going to say, you can do like, you can show them interviews or like show them like on the job, like what it looks like. Prepare them before they go in for the actual, before they actually meet whoever it is that they get to interact with. Those are all possibilities. And just kind of giving them chances to explore, like, when we say culinary arts, it's not just one job, chef is the first thing that comes to mind, but there's obviously going to be a range of things they can do. So just giving them opportunities to kind of dig and explore. And that could even happen in the Pear Deck. I'm thinking like you can do links to like different careers or, whether it's videos or just reading about. Those are some things that I'm thinking of off the top of my head.
Yeah, another thing that comes to mind for me, because I'm always thinking of like, if this is something you're talking about on a weekly basis, what's a system you can have in your classroom to kind of lessen your planning week to week and help students explore? So I'm sure there are resources that exist with like a kind of career inventory where it's like, okay, if, like you were kind of talking about soccer, like what's the why? Oh, it's because I like being active. Okay, maybe like, do you want to sit at a desk all day? Do you want to be moving around? Do you want to work like individually and focus on your own work? Do you want to work with people and help people? Do you like task-based work? Do you not? But I'm thinking about setting up a Pear Deck so that you're asking those questions. And I'll start share my screen real quick so that I can kind of show you how Pear Deck can do this. How Pear Deck can facilitate those conversations in class. So like when you, hold on just a second. So when you're in here, right, you have the templates that I showed you, but also these questions here. You can make any slide interactive by adding one of these. So if you, excuse me, you can do a text response, which on the student side gives them a text box where they can type in like, I think I would like culinary because I just love food. I love, creativity, but also like giving people a positive experience. So the text will do that. If you choose a choice question, it's multiple choice. And I wish I could kind of show you right now, but you would enter in. So like, let's say I'm going back to that kind of inventory idea. I like working alone. I like working in small groups. I like working with people all the time. I love talking to people. What happens when you give this question in class, it kind of is a poll and it will show 7 people chose answer C, 2 chose A, and then you can just facilitate classroom discussion. Who chose A and why? And talk about that, what their interests are. And I think that helps other students hear why they might choose one or the other. So that's kind of an idea I have. You also have Draggables, which like if you have something on the slide, and I'm hoping I'm conceptualizing this easier, but let's say this was like a, A or B slide, if that makes sense. You can provide, like, okay, put the red dot on what you agree with. You can add several of these, just again, as a way to show like preference and student choice and just to facilitate conversation, if that makes sense. I know it's not the right slide to show that, but hopefully that makes sense how you can use Pear Deck. So those are some more ideas too. Because I did that with,
is there a specific, like I'm looking at the templates, is there a specific template you think would be one of the better ones?
Sure. So like when I look at, I'm just going to show it again. too many tabs open as always. So when I go into templates, and again, any slide that you have, you can make interactive with those top buttons. But like if I go to critical thinking, like it could be, sorry, so slow. Yeah, like what connection, right? You could type in, you can edit this to say whatever you want. So it's like, I love being with people all the time. I love being alone. You could make this a draggable, like on a line, right? And just see where people pop up on the line. Or, let me go back to critical thinking.
So it looks like you can just click on the template, like where it says Google Slides or PowerPoint, and it automatically starts no, you still have to start it, huh?
So
The
there's sort of two pieces of Pear Deck. Like first, you have to build your deck and know what slides you're going to have and what questions you're going to ask and what part you want interactive or not.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build that ahead of time.
Right.
But once you're in class, then you start a session and students log in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at like the looks like they give you all the slides that go with the critical thinking slide, but you still have to say start, like click on add-ons or click Pear Deck for Google Slides.
Yes.
Click on that.
So I'm going to pull up one of my old decks just to show you how you can, like what it might look like to use your own.
Okay.
Give me just a second. I was a Spanish teacher at South, and so students couldn't say a lot, and so it was really helpful to give them the opportunity to kind of show just by interacting with me. I guess this is a pretty good example. Oh, I don't have these. Okay, this isn't. Trying to find a good one. Oh, and Chris, by the way, I did look up, you can save Edpuzzles to your resources.
You can.
Yes.
Once they're in the class.
Yes, I think because Edpuzzle, once you assign it to the class, that's how it gets into Schoology, and from there you can save it.
I keep having a message that says it needs to verify my email address before I can add a class.
Yeah.
Just check your email and you should get a message from Edpuzzle. It might take a minute.
Okay.
Or more than a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to look somewhere else. Sorry, it wasn't quite where I thought it was. But maybe I can show with Capybara. Okay, so just as an example, I was teaching a text. So like I come to a calendar slide and it's like they could write the answer, today's date is blah, blah, blah. They could also drag a little dot to the calendar. Then we would talk about weather again, and I would change these up. Some days I would have them write, some days I'd have them draw something. They, when you have the whole class dragging their little thing, and I'll say, ay, hay muchos estudiantes estresados hoy, whatever. For me, it was because I had to talk a lot in my Spanish classes. It helped facilitate that for me. You can have drawing slides like connect the English to the Spanish. Then I'd have some vocab review. And then I'd have them, like translate a couple sentences. So it's very interactive, very dynamic. You can include links. So I don't know if that helps, but that's just some more ideas too. And then, yeah, we still have 20 minutes left. So whatever questions you guys have, it's your time.
I think maybe for both Chris and I, Lisbon, what about you as a math teacher? How did you use like any of these things because Chris does a lot of actual math and science with his audio engineering. It's pretty cool stuff. I learned so much about sound waves last week. I couldn't believe it's all now. It's when they say it's all about something, it's all about the waves.
It's all about the waves.
Light, sound, electrical, everything. It's all about the waves.
Mhm. I think in math, I would love Edpuzzle because I would really want to do a flipped classroom is what I would do. I would start them off like the basics, like the things that I would lecture about. Like, we don't need to waste class time for that. Like, you can spend some time doing this, processing it, like, and it's even better than like lecture because then it forces them to like every single kid has to respond and interact with it, right? And then we can really use the class time to like build more, like dig deep, and like actually that application piece that we need the time for, the collaboration piece that we need to be together for, like we can do the hard stuff together. So I think that would be like the number one thing I would do is just do kind of a flipped classroom model. I think not Edpuzzle, Pear Deck also would be really great because it allows students to share their thinking, but it can be anonymous. So you can still have like group discussions. So like if you ask them to problem solve or think about something, they can work through it, and then you can share responses, but not make it like if you have a lot of shy students in class, especially when it comes to math and things that might be hard for them, they're nervous to share, but Pear Deck makes it so that you can share student responses without sharing names. So like there's that option to like share and discuss what students are doing without like calling students out. You can also like kind of compare and contrast like ideas, like you can share everybody's thinking and just kind of compare where they're at and what they know and how they're processing it. I think I heard you guys mention you do like Screencastify to let students share their, work and kind of share how they're solving things out. And so that's also like video is always good. Screencastify, you can actually share the screen itself, like record the screen. So if they're doing something and they're modeling it for you, like that's a great tool for that as well. Options are endless here when it comes to math.
Have you seen, is it a good tool for like shout outs instead? Because I know it's a lot of students obviously being shy. They don't want to necessarily say something in class, but are they willing to record themselves and then allow people to click on their?
I think Flipgrid would be probably my suggestion if you want students to be able to like interact with each other and like what they're saying, like, and they love Flipgrid.
Bianca, can you hear me?
Sorry.
No worries. So yeah, posing like a question that they can reflect on, think about, connect to the real world. Like, how do you relate to this? And then they can interact with each other and their videos.
Yes.
You guys will give us the link to go back to the other meeting, I bet.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Can you guys think of ideas that you will be using for your classes from this? Like, is there anything that you're thinking right now that you want to do or?
I definitely like the critical thinking. When I'm looking at that and building a slide deck right now as we're talking, just trying to think about how I can kind of move it into like my happiness idea. And so my other two things when I'm talking about the career classes is what inventions that have popped up I asked the teachers actually to send me like ideas of inventions, and I think I should have, like, for example, Mr. Mack, the bioscience teacher, said toilet paper is probably the number one invention that changed the bioscience / health industry. That after toilet paper, life expectancy went up like 20 years or something like that. So
That's my fun fact of the day officially now. Thank you.
Yes. Now we know why it all disappeared on us. Oh, what happened here? I got some sort of, there it goes. Okay. So I can't wait for bioscience just to talk about toilet paper. So, and then penicillin, I guess, is the next big thing. That actually would be bio, when you think of like small organisms and stuff like that. But, cool. Yeah, I'm going to try to do that. So I don't know if there's if you think of like career like things to talk about, because I just don't want to get like stuck on like, okay, do your research on how much, you know, money or what type of careers are in there, and you know, I mean, kids do like doing the same thing over and over again, but at the same time they don't, right? They want to have something different. So like if I used an ed puzzle and looked up a video or something like that, like I just did for culinary arts. So then ed puzzle would be something like create a bunch of questions about the video, or math meets
Great
culinary.
questions. You can do it about the video, or even just like their feelings about it. Like, how do you feel about, like, does this interest you? What parts of this would not be good if you were to choose it as a career? You know, things like that. So they're thinking about their own.
Some more
you know.
open questions. I'm really bad at the whole like there's one answer, you know, because like my course is a lot of like advanced manufacturing. There's a lot of like right answer, right? Just like in math. So how do you avoid the this is the right answer like question on a subject like if you're teaching, you know, design, you know, you have to use you have to design this on the computer, and what tool do you use? That's like my like kind of like go-to type of question. And then I know I hate it because I'm always asking for just one right answer. I hate it when kids get the answer wrong and I'm like, no, that's not right, you know, and they feel about it. So
I think it's just a balance. Like it's a balance of asking for opinions and allowing sort of just that open-ended stuff to exist, along with the like, okay, I actually have to teach you, yes, this is the tool you would choose. But I think it builds engagement too by just like, why is this interesting? Why do you need to design it? Why do you need to design it this way? What are different options of ways of designing it? Or how does the design help you to arrive at that final product, like in a way that's most useful to people, or, you know, whatever that might mean. And I think like starting a new unit or a new, you know, concept with those types of questions can help build the engagement. Whereas when it's like those right, wrong answers, and I know what you mean. I've fallen into that myself and
What's the
struggled
right
with that and had to adjust, because it's like, well, I have to grade it. I want it to be useful. And it's like, just give space for students to like, oh gosh, you know, and get excited and get thinking.
okay.
Listen, what's your math perspective on that?
Yeah, I think it's about connecting to, like, again, going back to kind of Zaretta Hammond's video, just like connecting to things that are relevant to them. So like, yes, there's a process and an answer for this, but why do it in the first place? Like, how is that relevant? And I'm sure like a course like that, students who take it probably have an interest in it. So that why is probably partially, you know, there for them, but just continuing to get them to reflect on that and what connections they have to it.
Yeah, my class, all ninth graders have to take it.
Oh, okay.
They don't get to choose. But then it's me as the teacher is all about making sure that they have a good experience with each career, so they make an informed, then they get to choose which career path they're going to go into, like 10th grade. And, you know, some career paths are 1 year, some career paths are 2 years, you know, to get a certification or whatever like that. You know, Chris is, I think yours, you can take it multiple times, right?
Yeah, you can take it like my original certification stuff got messed up with DOT, so I'm in the search for a new certification path. But I can at least have them take it like 3 semesters right now.
Andrew, I just thought of another idea too, is real world application, right? Instead of jobs being these abstract things that maybe some of the kids don't know about, go home and interview your parents and your uncles and those people that you know who have jobs either that you're interested in or that are, you know, cool, and bringing those personal stories into class for the other kids to then explore, like, oh, my uncle's a paramedic, or, you know, I don't know what specific jobs those might be, but I think that could be really cool because it doesn't feel like this far away, well, I don't know anyone who's a engineer, right? And it sort of brings, you know, just brings that context and real worldness and makes it more personal. And I would think like, that could be Flipgrid, that could be, different ways of facilitating that. We focus on like, how can you bring tech in instead of the specific tool, but we can help you think through that too.
Okay. All right. So real world application. You think so? Asking them to go home and interview somebody just about a job in general, or whatever career in general, not necessarily connected to the one I'm doing that week or something like that.
Oh no, I mean if it's specific to that, or maybe you have them do that as an assignment, and then you could bring those videos back in as you get to that specific career path, or
Gotcha.
you could do that in different ways, or say like, hey, anyone who knows whatever, an engineer, or I don't know what the specific, because there's many, right? There's like
Right.
medical and
Yeah.
business and
Yeah. There's
so,
like 15. Yeah.
right.
Well, 16, I think, including mine. We lost fashion design.
Hmm.
I know, but I get some of the stuff as the manufacturing teacher, because that's part of manufacturing is clothes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
okay, so interviews.
And you're both at CEC? I'm going to look up who your coach is just to give you that contact information if you're interested in working with that person.
The tech coach, or
Yeah, you have a digital coach. So we
yeah. Okay,
let me find.
it's Aaron. Well, it used to be Aaron. I think.
No, you do have a new coach now. I think
Oh,
that's Amy, but I'm not 100% sure. It's actually in the slide deck as well.
Oh, is it?
I'm pretty sure it's there. Maybe not.
All right. So Lisbon was right. That is Amy Volturo. And there is her email. Because that's what we do. We meet with teachers one-on-one, or we provide trainings on different tools. But that's something Amy could do, would be to come and meet with you and just help you think through those different ideas. And also the like, wait, but how do I get, Screencastify into Edpuzzle, into my Schoology, and all those sorts of things. So
I'm still waiting for my email.
oh,
Check spam, maybe?
Yeah. Nope. Nothing. I'm surprised it's taken so long.
that is unusual. Could try sending it again too, maybe.
I did. I tried sending it a couple times.
Oh, it may be going to your .net.
Where I'm looking.
Oh, okay.
And then I guess I haven't looked at the .org. Nope, still nothing. Because I have the account on the Edpuzzle page, but for some reason Schoology is just not connecting yet.
Uh-huh.
And you can still like build the content in Edpuzzle, and then just when it finally goes through, then you can just attach it. It should be in before the end of the day, I'm sure. It's usually pretty quick. So it's just a matter of being able to assign it to your students. That you have to wait on here, but you can still build the Edpuzzle in Edpuzzle.
I have found too, in Schoology, once you log into Edpuzzle for the first time and you kind of go back to Schoology and refresh, it often will, like, that connection will be made. It's just getting them to talk to each other, so you might be able to do it that way too. We have just a couple minutes left, but I want to make sure to drop. Oh, you do? Yeah, let's do it, just so it's there. So you have the link in the chat back to the main room. We'll just do some whole group reflection just for 10 minutes back there.
And you'll get the survey link as well to get credit for the session.
Right, so make sure you do go back to the main room. But yeah, really great chatting with you guys. And we still have a couple minutes if there's anything left that you want to ask about.
Before Chris, I've been doing all the talking, man.
Oh, I just have been kind of trying to figure out all the stuff I have to do today along with this stuff. Today's SLO and call home day too. So
Ooh, that's a lot.
yeah.
It's a fun afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. It was like the SLOs weren't mentioned until last week, and then they're like, hey, they're due on the 30th.
Yeah. And then I have to go to the DMV after work.
Oh, man.
One of those days. I was gonna change my homeowner's insurance too, but I don't think that's gonna fit in today. So.
That's quite a to-do list, I'd say.
This is cool stuff, though. So Schoology is so neat because we did Google Docs for so long, and it's harder. It's just not quite as I don't know. It's not quite as together. With all the stuff. Schoology is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I do all my assignments are assessments, so they all auto grade for the most part, unless they're written stuff, which I do have. But pretty cool.
I have a lot of time. In Edpuzzle, is there a good way to search for multiple things? So, like, for example, I'm trying to see if there's any videos about culinary arts or 3D printing used in culinary arts. Is there any like comma or, because I just did culinary arts 3D printing and I'm getting all videos of either only 3D printing, it looks like, or only culinary arts and not like kind of some of both.
I'm not sure there is a way I don't know if the filters that are in there really will help with that. You can also try searching YouTube. Like, you would have to make the video make the questions and stuff yourself then. But if you don't see anything in Edpuzzle, like, pull over a video.
Okay. Yeah, I thought, because I try to get the kids excited about, like, they're using 3D printers to print chocolate stuff these days because you can melt chocolate and then it reforms really fast, like the shell kind. Yeah. So the shell kind of chocolate. So it's it's been going around for a little while, especially in high end like places in France and stuff like that, or high end restaurants. They try to do cool stuff and get things customized that way.
My second favorite fact of the day.
Yeah, there you go. Toilet paper and 3D printed chocolate.
There you go.
Good random facts.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. I would check YouTube.
You too.
And it is 11:05, so I think we are supposed to head back to the main room. So we'll see you guys over there.
Bye.
Okay, see ya. Thanks again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.